As you saw earlier, we're joined by the president of the Law Society of Kenya, Faith Odhiambo. Good to have you in studio this evening. Now, your reaction to that story, in particular, that bit where they say they will withdraw services Wednesday to Friday next week. Is that a legal action, especially considering that the Constitution of Kenya, where accused persons are concerned, requires that accused persons are brought to court as soon as possible, no later than 24 hours on a court day?
Well, first, let me start by sharing my heartfelt condolences to the family of Honorable Monica and to the entire judiciary. And as the Law Society, we say we stand with you in with regards to this sad occurrence that has happened. As much as I agree that insecurity to members of the bench is insecurity to members of the bar, any court researchers, court staff, and most importantly, members of the public as well. But I think that we need to temper it a bit with regards to essential services. I think even as a legal fraternity, we're totally in agreement the one day that we said the Chief Justice issued directions that on Tuesday would be a day of mourning for the entire judiciary. And as the Law Society, we said we'll be standing in solidarity with them. But I think that we need to temper it a bit because looking at Article 48 and Article 50, members of the public have the right to access to justice and also a fair hearing. And so if we say that no courts will proceed for that entire week, I think it needs to precipitate that our members at the Judicial Service Commission, security forces and the ministry needs to sit and at least commit that we have some basic court services proceeding. I think it would be fair to say even that we proceed even if it's virtual hearings. During COVID times, we had virtual proceedings ongoing, and I think it's quite important because we'll have a judicial crisis in this entire nation.
Madam President, let me ask you this real quick. Was this an accident waiting to happen? Because you have guns in the courtroom. I mean, this was, eventually going to happen at some point.
I think the judiciary is a sitting duck for a disaster waiting to happen because this is a scenario of one of our judicial officers. I think if probably the DCI officer wasn't at that vicinity at the time the shooting took place, many, even my members as advocates, would have been shot in that scenario. And so the reality is just looking at the safety measures. If you look at even the level of milimani, apart from the semblance of the gadget that you pass through to see if you have any firearm.
Call it a semblance.
Yeah.
I find it semblance because I'm not sure if it really works. And because sometimes even you will still pass through with your bags and I don't know if sometimes there's adequate security, and apart from that main entrance, there are other entrances that people can sneak in through. If you look at the courts, there are no bodyguards standing even at the chambers of the judges.
All right, let me ask you to put a pin in that. Yeah. We'll come back more substantively with the security measures you are demanding.